Hey. This is Carl Taste Ransom. I'm live right now on Instagram. Going to be coming to you with episode 7 of the C Note, waiting for my very special guest, Mr. Marcus Murphy, to tune in. So how y'all doing out there today? I'm going a little wolfy out here right now. I decided to grow my sideburns out. I didn't really know my sideburns could grow this long, but they're getting a little bit too thick. I have to cut them down some. Yes. All right. Right there. Hopefully he should be tuning in on here soon. Waiting for Mr. Marcus Murphy to come up in this joint on the C Note episode 7. There he is
Hey,
right
what's going
there.
on? What's going
What
on?
up? How are you?
I'm
How are
good. I
you?
was just hearing you talking about your sideburns. Every time mine grow out, I be feeling like a grown man. Then the road,
Uh-huh.
I gotta like cut it. I be like, damn it. So I wish you could switch places right now. I wish you could switch right now.
Oh, really? I don't normally grow them out like this, but this is something new for me, like
Yeah.
growing them out. Anyway, hey.
Good,
I
good,
might
good.
chop them down. But yeah, good to see you. Good to see you here on the C Note, episode
Thank
7.
you.
As my saying goes, where we keep it 100 and the real recognize real, and then you got to do it like this. We also see you fake asses out there too. You got to do the side eye. But
I
anyway.
got you. I got you. Toward the end, I'm gonna do that one for some folks. They know who they
Oh
are.
yeah,
They
yeah,
know.
they are. There's a lot of fake ones out there, but hey, you let them do them. Let them do what they do. They ain't stopping nothing. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Mm-hmm.
good to have you here, Mr. Marcus Murphy. We have Mr. Marcus Murphy here. He is a Washington D.C. native, and he recently
Woo.
became a college graduate with a degree of political science. We're going to
Thank
be
you.
talking about that too, as he reemerges in the entertainment industry, and he wants to do meaningful roles and impactful roles,
Mm-hmm.
to help uplift and educate the Black community. That's something that's very important to him. I see a couple of people on here. Hey, Miss
What's up,
Joy
y'all? What's
Ford, I
going
know
on?
you. Hey, you, who's that? Gasoline? Oh, hey, what's up? That's the name. Hey, y'all. So, how have you been during this pandemic, first of all, before we get into it? How have you been dealing with this whole situation?
The pandemic initially when it happened, I was at work, and I thought it'd be, like a couple of weeks, like anything that we go through in America, a couple of days or a couple of
Right.
weeks. But when a couple of weeks, went to a few months and then
Yeah.
almost to a year,
Uh-huh.
I'm grateful that it happened. I'm not happy at the things that transpired, like people dying and so on and so forth. But really just taking the time that I need to really just regroup and reconnect to myself and my well-being and the things that I want in my life. Because when we always want to go, like go, 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 and we never
Yeah.
just have a moment to like be at pause and stand still,
Hmm.
you don't know the time that you really are not having to yourself. So I'm glad that COVID happened, and I'm glad that it allowed me to.
Well, I don't know if you would have put it like that, say you're
Not glad
glad
that it
that it
happened. Not glad that
happened.
it happened,
But
but
I understand what you're saying. I've heard a lot of other people say that this has given them a chance to do things that they normally wouldn't have time to do due to their work schedules and so forth. This has given some people some downtime to get some things
for sure.
done that they wouldn't have normally been able to get done. So I
And
know exactly what you mean. I know you didn't mean that you're
oh
happy
yeah,
that this
no,
situation happened. No, no, not at all. But you and I, we met like back in 2017.
yeah. On speaking
Um,
real set.
yeah, speaking real, which I have not given up on that yet. The whole situation with that, um, um, when it was finally done being shot, because we were trying to get it together to put it into this film festival.
Right.
Um, you know, uh, the brother who shot the film, we didn't get finished shooting until close. Well, actually, he had to leave. He wasn't able to finish shooting. There was a young lady from Morgan State University who came on and shot the last couple of scenes that needed to be done.
Okay.
And then after I got with her, I had to get with her editor over at Morgan University as well. Didn't have enough time to have the whole film edited because I didn't want to just throw it together. And that
Right.
was the original plan, to have the whole film in the film festival.
Mm-hmm.
But since I didn't have a whole lot of time, I only opted to have like the first 18 minutes in the film festival, which kind of ends in a really good spot because it ends like on a cliffhanger in the film. But since then, I've been trying to catch up with the brother who shot the film because I want him to be the one to do the editing. I don't really want to have anybody else do it. and so we've been kind of missing each other here back and forth. But it is my goal to definitely get that out there this year.
Good.
Okay.
It was a
Definitely.
great script,
Definitely.
great cast, and just to see all the melanin
Yeah.
talent and diverse talent, it was amazing. So I definitely appreciate you for always recognizing the African American, diaspora, and just giving us opportunities and writing meaningful work, and not allowing others to tell our stories when they don't know our stories. So
Well, it was important to me. I created that story. It's about a family, the
hmm
Speak family, and it's called Speak It Real.
hmm
And I wanted to have a strong black family on television, depicted, and it does show a strong family. Of course, they're not perfect. No family is perfect,
right,
but um, it didn't have a lot of the so-called ratchet over the top issues that a lot of the shows nowadays have over the top stuff. You know what I
hmm
mean? It had the normal everyday, if you want to call any issues normal. It had
right,
just regular issues that families go through, but there was no like backstabbing in the family and stuff like that. I wasn't going to have the Speaks brothers sleeping with each other's wives or girlfriends or whatever, or the Speaks sisters sleeping with each other's husbands and all that kind of mess, because every black family don't do stuff like that. We don't go
absolutely.
around sleeping with each other's spouses. That doesn't go on. That doesn't go on in my family. You know, and I know a lot of other black families that don't do that either. But that's what they like to portray on television. Is a bunch of unhealthy, dysfunctional stuff. And in that family, it shows the parents who have seven children. Five of them are grown, and the youngest two are teenagers. And three of the grown children have children. And then you also have both sets of the grandparents in this story as well. So it's a really good thing. And I did really get a good review from somebody who came to see
Yeah,
the film, who saw the first 18 minutes in the film
film
festival,
festival.
which took place over at Morgan University.
Yeah.
But in your bio, you said reemerge,
hmm
which means that you were into acting before at one time?
I was into it before, and I was still working, but I wasn't taking on the roles that I felt like was pivotal for a black man. It was just like I'm working, I'm keeping myself busy. I want people to still know my name. And then
Mhm.
after having a conversation, one of my mentors, who I love, who I adore, who always just give me the reminder, the work that you do, don't just do the work saying you're doing it. It should be
Right.
meaningful and it should be practical. And after having that
hmm
conversation with my boy Andrew, who's my mentor, it really just gave me something to think about a little bit more on the direction I wanted to go and understand that it's not just about the work for me, but for the generation behind me. So
Yes.
now that I'm out of school now and I'm being able to get meaningful work, black work that not only speaks to my soul, but for people to look at too as history and in the making, like my play, that's important to me. And I want to keep that train going. And if it doesn't speak to me, then I'm not doing it. Somebody else can do it, and that's their
Yes.
journey.
Well, it's very good to see that a young brother such as yourself is caring about the next generations or the next generations to come up, because I always talk
Yeah,
about that on my profile. I'm concerned about future generations of black people and
yeah,
not having them have to deal with the same things that our people have been dealing with for generations. We're
right.
still fighting the same fights that our grandparents and our great grandparents were fighting. We're still
Absolutely.
fighting for our natural born rights, the
Mm-hmm.
rights that we should be born with, which is
Yeah,
ridiculous to me. And a lot of people think that I'm being mean or negative because I say I want to be free or separate from this. I want us to have our own government, our own system where we run our own lives instead of always having somebody else standing over us. And because it's still happening, they're still killing young black men for nothing.
yeah.
Recently, Casey Goodson Jr., who was killed back on December the 4th, walking
Mm-hmm.
into his house
Yeah.
carrying a Subway sandwich, you know,
Ridiculous.
shot in his back
Ridiculous.
for what? So I just want us to be free from that. I'm
Yeah.
not sitting around. A lot of black people accuse me of hating Caucasians. I'm not sitting around hating anybody. First
Right.
of all, it takes energy to hate people. It takes energy
Right.
to hate. Okay. I'm not wasting that type of energy on them. I'm
Right.
focused on trying to empower black people so
Exactly.
we can have our own,
Yeah.
the same way everybody else has their own. That's what I'm about. So it's really good to hear you say that you care about future generations, because too many of our people today just worry about the now,
The
what's
next.
going on for the moment, living for the moment. But that's a mistake that we make because we need to look out for future generations. That's what every other race does. They look out for future generations. They make sure things are in place economically and so
Mm-hmm.
forth for their future generations. And so that's what we need to do as well. So I'm really happy to hear you say that.
And also,
Uh,
too, fear. Some people have fear as well. They brainwash or think if they speak out or they speak up, oh
mhm,
my, I may not get this next check, or oh my, I'm difficult, or oh my, what's going to happen, And it's like at the end of
right.
the day, you can't walk in fear and you can't be fearful. If you
Oh, yeah.
stand firm in what you believe,
Well, yes, yes, is that and that's another one of my points because
mm-hmm.
a lot of these holy roller church people, they love to quote, God did not give us a spirit of fear,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they'll sit up there and be afraid of standing up to the system. They'll be afraid to stand up to racist Caucasians and say we can't do this and do that because we're so called outnumbered or whatever, which I really
Right.
don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
But but they'll say that God didn't give us the spirit of fear, but then they'll turn around and talk about how scared they are to make
Right.
a move to stand up for our people. And when I talk about making moves, I'm not talking about being violent towards anybody. I don't preach violence. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that they said about Malcolm. Malcolm X never preached violence. He never
Absolutely.
preached violence. He never told anybody to go out here and just beat up random white people. He never said that. He talked about self-defense. Self-defense, us protecting ourselves against violent attacks
Right.
from whites or whoever.
Right.
Um, and somehow they have convinced us that us protecting ourselves from attacks from them is us being violent, which is crazy. Uh,
Violence, what we saw a couple weeks ago at the Capitol. That's goddamn violence.
yeah, that's that's
That's
violent.
violence. I
That's
ain't see one
violent.
scratch. I ain't see one bullet. I ain't see one tear gas. But there's some at Black Lives Matter. You seen what went down there with black people.
Right.
So again,
Well, a couple of people did get killed.
mm-hmm.
The people who were involved in
But they got killed. But what I'm saying is the way there's some like I know people personally who do protesting, put their lives on the line every day. So it's nothing new. They do that every day. But what I'm
right.
saying is that the same way they had the ability to get guarded and come into the
Hmm.
Capitol and do all they did and nothing really happened. But compared to this summer on the front lines down in DC at the Black
Right.
Lives Plaza and how they was disrespected and tear
Hmm.
gas and jailed and prison, all of that, they was able to
Yes.
leave the Capitol, go back to their
Hmm.
states, have a poster of looking for each and every person, then they got charged. Black people, it would have been a modern day Rosewood
Oh
massacre.
yeah, we already know.
You
If that
know,
had been black people trying to storm the Capitol, first of all, they wouldn't even got that close to the Capitol. They wouldn't have
no,
gotten that close to the Capitol. They would have had the National Guard out there already. They would not have had to been called, and there would have been a bloodbath out there if it had been black people trying to stand up.
yeah,
And we stand up for stuff because we protested about our lives being taken, not
yeah,
because we didn't get our way over this election, but that's
mm-hmm.
what they were doing. They did all types of stuff. We'll see what's going to happen with the charges they get and how many people get charged. They all should be charged, you
Yeah,
know. And then I'm not going to get too much into this,
right,
but the
absolutely,
whole thing. I mean, I put my hands up to the brother. I give the brother props, the black guy who was the security officer, who they say led people away from the Senate office and stuff like that. First of all, I'm not too sure that wasn't a setup.
okay,
Okay. Secondly, they're holding him up as this big martyr and everything to keep black people wrapped up in their trap. You know what I mean? Like when this thing was happening on January 6th, a lot of black people were posting, this is not our fight. This is not our fight. Because it's not our fight, because we're not the ones who started this whole racism thing. We didn't start racism and we don't perpetuate it.
right,
So it's not our fight. But holding this brother up as some type of martyr that keeps black people fixated and in a trance to make us feel like we need to keep being a part of their fight over this racism stuff. You know, and so they're holding this brother up. They're giving him this medal and everything. I think they're giving him the Nobel Peace Prize or something like that. I think I'm not sure,
oh,
but they're giving him
really, they
something.
got that
They
too, wow,
they're honoring the brother. They're honoring him. His name is Eugene. I forgot his
yeah,
last name. Um, and he should be,
for
but
sure.
personally, yeah, but
It wasn't our fight, so I'm not, you know,
you know, and me personally, I'm sorry, but I would not have been risking my life to protect racists from other races. I'm sorry,
Right.
because a lot of that was an inside job that was going on.
Absolutely.
You saw some of those cops taking pictures with those terrorists.
Yeah.
You saw footage. I saw some of them moving barricades to let them in.
Yeah, me too. Me
And
too.
stuff like that. So it was an inside job. And, a lot of our people want to believe that racism is over now. It's going to be gone now that Trump's gone, as if Trump is the one who started it. He didn't start it. It's been here. Only thing he did was make them feel more bold.
Mm.
That's all. He just made them feel more bold to do what they were doing, but they were doing it all along, even when President Obama was in office. But I'm gonna get off of that and talk about some other stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
you said that well, were you acting as a child?
No, no. So I wasn't
No.
acting as a child. Just education. That was my thing.
Okay,
And
okay.
then when I went to college in Ohio, I ended up going to a PWI initially, predominantly white
Hmm.
institution. And when I was there, I saw a casting call for a print ad. And
Hmm.
the print ad initially was about HIV/AIDS. I know people personally who are affected by that, who have died from it.
Hmm.
So when I saw the
Right.
print ad, I felt like I want to do again work
Okay.
that I can relate to, not just I don't have it, but people that I know that can
Yeah.
tell their story. So when I went to the
Mhm.
casting call, it wasn't
Right.
about HIV anymore. It was about synthetic marijuana, a new drug emerging known as K2. And at the time, I went to my audition. I left Ohio for the audition and
Hmm.
went back up there like 2 days later back to school. I had booked the job. Initially, I wasn't the lead model for the job, but because the guy was late, I learned being on time,
Oh.
being early, and being prepared gave me
Hmm.
my opportunity, and I was able to be like the lead model for that print ad back in 2013. That not only is still being seen today, but also that was in New York Times Square on Billboard as well.
That's not the one with the zombie, is it?
Yeah, that one.
That is the same one. I remember saying that. I
Yeah.
remember saying that.
So that
Cool.
opened the door.
Yeah.
So I used that print ad photo as like I guess a headshots. I got real headshots, and then
Hmm.
did like extra work like for Veep, those type of things. And then I trained with my acting coach, award-winning theater play person named Kelsey Carly, who also is a
Okay.
Howard University alumni. And
Yeah.
after we trained, I was able to book my first job through the Eyes of the Children, based off the 1980s crack epidemic in Washington, D.C., and the show at DC TV. And from there, I've just been working nonstop.
Well, that's just a lesson to you people out there, whether it be modeling or acting, always be ready. Be
Always.
ye also ready, because the same thing happened on my last film, The
Mm-hmm.
Eternal Extra, that I shot a year ago. Well,
2
it'll
years
be
now,
two
right?
years in July.
Uh-huh.
Well, not speaking real, but um, The Eternal Extra, the one that's in the film festivals right now, it's
Yeah.
gotten into 4 film festivals so far, and it won a couple of awards back in October
Congrats.
in the film festival in New York, the Strong Chance Film Festival. It was shot in July of 2019, and there was someone who was supposed to be playing a part in the film. It wasn't a whole lot of lines, but she was supposed to be in the film. It was like a featured extra role where she was supposed to be playing the sister of my character and a couple other, because my character had two brothers and one sister. So she was also supposed to be in the scene. We were supposed to be singing together.
Mm.
So she didn't show up. She didn't show up. So one of the sisters who was there just to be an extra in the background, I said, do you sing?
Mm.
And she said, yes, she do. And actually, I had forgotten that I had saw her actually in a production of Dreamgirls at Artcentric, which is a black theater company here.
Right.
Artcentric, very good. They always put on excellent productions. Artcentric, shout out to Artcentric out there.
Yes.
Um, and I had forgotten that she was in Dreamgirls, actually. I didn't recognize her because she looked totally different the way she was made up in Dreamgirls.
Right.
So she said, yeah, I sing. I said, well, I have this role. There's a couple of lines and everything, and the person didn't show up. And I said, would you do it? And she had to learn the song, even though it was going to be lip sync, because we pre-recorded the song with the other girl. So we
Okay.
was going to be lip sync and do our own voices, but she had to learn the song, and so she could mouth the words and everything. And so she did that. She got up there. She did the couple of lines that she had, and she did the song with us. So you always got to be ready, because you never know if somebody don't show up. You got to be right there on it.
You on it.
Definitely,
That happened for
definitely.
me, and I'm glad that it did because it gave me like the motivation. Like, and they paid me well too, so I said, I
Hmm.
could do this then. So yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
So I remember seeing that you were playing Lewis Latimer.
I was. So my mentor, who his name is Andrew Skinner, is
Hmm.
also has like his own production company, and
Okay.
it's called the series that he created is called We Made It, the Black Inventions, and it's
Right.
highlights the African Americans, Egyptians, just inventions that we don't hear
Okay.
about because we always hear about the white people taking credit
Hmm.
for the black people work. So when he
Hmm.
presented the opportunity for me, Louis Latimer, I got on my research right away. And I wish there was more information about Louis Latimer out there for me
Hmm.
to like really have indulged in it. But when I had the opportunity to really just do what I was able to do in that short amount of time and learn about him, I was like, wow. So it was
Yeah,
amazing.
I know he invented the light bulb, but he invented some part of the light bulb that made it last longer.
Right.
He also actually is the one who invented the original telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Graham Bell takes credit for it,
Right.
but actually Lewis Latimer is the one who invented the original telephone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this conversation with other black people in the past that black people have invented so much that
Yeah.
make the quality of life easy for everybody.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for us, if it wasn't for our existence in this world, the quality of life would be totally different. We invented a whole lot of things that make life easier for people,
It'd be screwed
including
up. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and including the internet. This thing that we're on now was invented by I think a brother from was it Nigeria or
It was.
Ethiopia? One of the two. It
I
was a
think.
brother.
Mm-hmm.
It was a continental African brother who invented the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was a black person who invented the cell phone as
Yeah.
well. Um, and it was a black woman who invented the GPS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
you don't even hear about her that much. I forget their names, but yeah. Yeah.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
well, we know about the traffic light, all that kind of stuff that was invented by somebody black, and um actually plumbing. People don't know
Mm-hmm.
that. Indoor plumbing and all that because they had indoor plumbing way back in ancient Kemet.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that kind of stuff. They think that, you know, Caucasians invented that, but that stuff was invented by our people. All
Us.
right, yeah. Uh, exactly. So, so where is that? Was that a film or was that a that
So
was a
it's a
film? Wasn't
television series. Right now it's in the editing stages. The pilot is done, and it's a six-part episodic series that
it?
highlights
Okay,
different inventions from different people. My segment was the Louis Latimer segment, but it's five other episodes. So later this year it should be out. So I'm really
okay.
happy for that. Yeah.
Do you know where it's going to be at? What channel or network?
At the moment I do. I know he was looking at some different networks that was interested in doing it, but
Hmm.
before that happens, again, like contracts and all those good things, and making sure it's the quality. You're not trying to
Okay,
change anything or
right.
make it seem like it's nothing. Because
Hmm.
again, my boy is like kind of like you, pro-black, know what he means, and understands the business of everything before he just said yes to anything. So,
Right,
and you
right,
need that in this business because if you don't, you will get played. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. And the thing with being pro-black, the term that people like to use,
mhm.
black people always have to try to preface that by saying pro-black doesn't mean being against anybody else. And it kind of bothers me that we have to stop to say that
Oh, they said that.
because
They say that.
some black people will say that to try to make other people feel more comfortable
They shouldn't.
by saying that pro-black doesn't mean that we're against anybody else because nobody else, everybody else puts their race first. If we're going
Right.
to keep it real, everybody else puts their race first. Whether it be Asians, they put different. I know there's different facets or different factions
Mm-hmm.
of Asians, Japanese, Chinese, and all that, but they all put their people first,
Right.
and nobody has a problem with it. As a matter of fact, they're giving props for putting their people first.
Yeah.
Um, and black people will celebrate other races for how they stick together. You will
Mm-hmm.
hear black people say, "Look at how they stick together. I wish we could do that." But as soon as black people do, but as soon as you do have black people who will put black people first,
It's a
we
problem.
get it. It's a problem. We get accused of being so-called racist, and we get attacked by other black people because we've been trained as black people
Mm-hmm.
to be protective
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, so-called dominant society
Right.
or white people, just like we show more compassion to them than we do to our own people. We forgive other people outside of us, but we rarely forgive other black people. When another black person does something that hurts us or something that bothers us, we rarely forgive our own people. We hold grudges against each other, but we
Mm-hmm.
forgive everybody else, which that needs to stop. And I'm not against anybody, but I don't feel like I should have to say that just because I put my people first,
Yeah,
put our people first. I feel like that's what I'm called to do. And that's what we owe our ancestors is to put us first, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. And hopefully, well, I'm looking forward to us working together one of these days too. But definitely make sure you keep people posted about the Lewis
yeah,
Latimer project because I want to see it, and I'm sure y'all out there want to see that too. And I'm
yeah.
definitely excited to see that. So, what
Absolutely.
have been some of your other favorite acting projects? I know you've done a
Uh,
lot, right?
yeah. So
You've been very
recently,
busy.
huh?
You've been very busy over the past couple of years. You've
I
been doing a
have
lot.
been.
Yeah.
I have been. So recently, the play, Until the Flood. That's
Now, I
like,
don't want to talk about that yet. Hold on,
oh,
hold on,
not
hold on.
yet. Okay, but that
No,
one,
no.
I'm
Yeah.
working on a movie now. We're working on a movie now. It's a horror film I'm working on. I
What's
can't
it
say
called? You went out a little bit.
so
What,
on a
what's it
horror
called?
movie.
Oh,
So
a
I
horror movie.
haven't.
Okay.
I'm working on a movie like that. Now I can't go into too much detail to be in production. However, though, it's an amazing project. I will say that.
It's a horror movie.
So
Now,
yeah, I mean, it's not your typical horror movie. I'll say that. It's not a
okay,
typical horror
okay,
movie.
okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask this question:
Go ahead.
is it a black horror film or
It is a black horror film, and
okay,
it's a
okay?
diverse cast. I would say
Because
that.
the running joke is right in a horror movie. The
Or
black
the
person
black,
is always the first one to get killed off that joint. You know what I'm saying so.
right?
That's why I'm
Well, I
asking.
will
That's why
say
I
that
asked.
this particular horror film is, I'll say, it's geared towards what's currently going on in our political climate. I'll say that. Far as
You play
like,
what?
I'll say this particular horror film that I'm working on is geared towards what's going on right now in our political climate, and how
Okay,
black people is
wow.
viewed and how white people are
Hmm.
seen and those type of dynamics. So it's very different. It's an original
Hmm.
script. It's an original
Wow.
cast. The director himself is from Memphis, Tennessee,
Hmm.
and he just is a brilliant writer. So it'll touch people for a twist and turn. So just stay tuned for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, because I'm not normally a big horror movie fan,
For
but
sure.
because most of them are creepy to me. But
Yeah.
that sounds like something I would like to see. I mean, like I also enjoy Get Out stuff like
Yeah.
films like that. But yeah, but the normal horror movie film with all the blood and gore and all that, just to be scary, that's not
Crazy.
really my thing too much. Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's one. So tell me about some of your other work. We're going to
So
get to your current project in a minute.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So later this year I'll be working on a church movie called Behind Church Doors. Actually out
ooh,
of Baltimore. The lady name is Dr. Tracy L.F. Worley. You might have heard
okay.
of
I think I've
Baltimore.
heard her name. Yeah,
You heard that before? Yeah, amazing
yeah, I've heard
writer.
of.
And it's called Behind Church Doors, and it's really just like a gospel film and the
Hmm.
things that goes on in the church and how people are put on like this pivotal pedestal, but also within that you
Right,
got people that gossip and just
right.
do things. But but the blessing behind this movie is we can all make mistakes, and God can
True.
forgive you. And then
Mm.
also too, she got. Do you ever heard of Tony Exum Jr.? He's a renowned national contemporary jazz person who like travels the world. You ever heard of him before?
I think I've heard that name before.
So he's
I've
in the
heard a
movie
lot of
with
names.
yeah, yeah. So
Huh?
he's in the movie with us as well. In the movie, the church movie, and then also Lamar Campbell, who's a renowned gospel
Okay.
artist. So I'm really
Yeah, I've
excited.
heard of him. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
heard.
So I'm really
Okay.
excited about this production, not so much because they're attached to it, but because the
Hmm.
script is original, like I said before, and I feel like it's a
Okay.
little comedy, it's a little drama, but everyone can relate to it and just understand. It don't matter where we begin in our lives, what happens in our lives, whoever you believe in, whether it's God, if you're a Muslim or you don't believe in nobody, just know
Hmm.
your beginning don't have to be your end. And I just think and it's a black cast, diverse, all black cast, all shades of black. So that's an amazing. Yeah, let's be
That's
real.
important.
That's important
Huh?
to me.
Yeah,
So
I try when I cast the film, I try to be diverse with the shades of black people.
mhm,
I do intentionally try to make sure I cast dark skinned actors too, intentionally. Um, it's not always easy to find because I'm not some big name right now, so they're not all flocking to me like
mhm,
that. So I do try to be intentional and fair, with who I cast as far as casting our people in
mhm.
films. It's very important. So this new project. that you
Mm-hmm.
have coming up um, before the flood,
Yes.
right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
written by is that a brother or sister?
It's the sister,
Bro,
Dale Orlando Smith.
Gael Orlando Smith. Orlando Smith.
Yes.
Okay. And this is based on a true story, correct?
Michael Brown. Mm-hmm.
It's about Michael Brown, and you play a brother by the name of Tony, who was a neighbor of Michael Brown,
Paul,
or Paul.
who is the
That's a
neighbor
name.
of Michael
Well, I
Brown.
don't know where I got Tony from.
I
But
mean,
Paul.
I just said Tony's name from the movie,
Right,
Tony
right.
X.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I had Paul up here, but I said Tony.
You said Tony.
Tony came
Cool.
out.
It's cool. So
Right.
yeah,
So that
go ahead.
well, I know it's based on, somebody who was a friend of Mike Brown's, who
Mm-hmm.
we all know was shot and killed by that officer Darren. I forgot his last name.
Wilson.
Yeah, Darren. I tried to put him out my mind, but Darren Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
who was
And
shot back, was that 2015?
2014.
2014. Yeah, it was right behind Trayvon Martin a
Mm-hmm.
year later. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that project. It's coming up. This will be
Mm-hmm.
your stage debut, correct?
Stage debut, yeah,
Your
yeah.
stage debut, which is kind of different because normally when you make your stage debut, you get to do it in front of a live audience, which
I
is right there
know.
in the same room with you. And I know what that feeling feels like to have that audience and the energy coming from the
Mm-hmm.
audience while you're on stage.
Yeah,
Um, but you won't get to experience that, sadly, because of this pandemic situation.
I know.
It has to be live streamed and, um, so you won't get to feel that.
Right.
So, first of all, uh, how is this stage experience for you? How do you find it different from film? And is there one that you may enjoy more than the other, or is it equal?
Uh, well, now I want more stage work now, to be honest with you. But because you had to like film it, I would say
Hmm.
it was no similarities. But the preparation for me was a lot harder,
Hmm.
because each beat, every moment, the rehearsal, like the long hours, 6 to 8 hours,
Right.
and really having to embody somebody. Like I'm 27, so I had to go
Hmm.
into a mindset of a 17-year-old at that time.
Right.
That's a 10-year
Right.
difference. Then I had to
Right.
wake up every morning to be in this mindset of a depressed person who wants to get out of his current
Hmm.
situation, which is living in poverty, and just
Okay.
understanding like Mike Brown was my neighbor, you know what I mean? But every day I wake up looking at the documentary Stranger Fruit. It was you ever
Hmm.
seen Stranger Fruit? It was a
Yeah.
filmmaker. Yeah,
Strange fruit. Yeah.
Strange Fruit. So every day I like look at that to put my mind in that mindset, crying, being happy, and just really trying to embody Paul to the best of my ability. Because prior to me being cast in the project, Dale Orlando Smith herself did all 6 characters, men and women, as a one-woman play.
Ooh. All right
Yeah.
now. It's a
So
lot.
let's give
Yeah.
her credit. Dale Orlando Smith is no joke. She's an amazing writer. She's done plenty
Hmm.
of one-woman shows, and that's why she got her Obie Award accolades.
Right.
This play in particular, Until the Flood, is a partial finalist award. She was a finalist for that because it just was able to open up in Missouri in 2015, and
Okay.
she was able to go to like Los Angeles, New York. So she's been doing her thing. So now a lot of different stage productions or directors want to buy it and also direct it to their liking or to how they can view it, because what's going on right now in our political world, our climate of
Hmm.
racism and so on and so forth, it's a good piece. And initially, when I saw the casting call, I kept, going away from it. Like, I don't have no stage experience. I'm comfortable with
Hmm.
film. If I make a mistake, I can say, cut, let's do it again. But my spirit just kept drawing me back to it. And I
Hmm.
initially did the information. And it was hard. The casting process was really hard, too, unlike film. It was really hard. And
Right.
I auditioned for it. It was like me and another guy in like separate rooms on Zoom, and they
Hmm.
had me read again. But they wanted me to read for a person that was like 70 years old. And I was like, I might be mature, but okay,
Well, I'm
yeah,
sure they would have put makeup on you to make you, they would have aged you
that's
with
all
it.
good and dandy, but I didn't feel that character
You
right
ain't want to
away.
do that.
I didn't want
Right,
to do it
right,
again.
right, right.
That's why I'm
Okay.
glad I was able to do Paul, and I'm glad they
Hmm.
found the other person to do that 70-year-old person, because he's
Okay.
older than me, like in his 50s. So
Uh-huh.
that's what you get.
Well,
So
okay.
yeah, like no shade though, but I'm glad that
Right.
show my variations of levels to
Hmm.
give me that type of
Yeah.
confidence to immaculate somebody else. But I wanted
Right.
Paul. And the reason why I wanted Paul is because Paul reminded me of myself. A lot of people don't know, but I grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. I don't come from an
Hmm.
impoverished neighborhood
Right.
like Michael Brown did or even Paul
Okay.
himself. But
Hmm.
life happens, single parent, and you just gotta go with the flow. And I actually grew
Yeah.
up in poverty, and in that environment, it gave me the tools and the ability to know I want more for myself because I don't want to be a statistic or a product of my environment. And that's kind of like how Paul is. Paul might live
Hmm.
in Canfield apartments, but he had parents who love him. He goes to an all white
Right.
school. He goes to a white school, and he knows his tickets out is education, and he's a good painter, and he wants to go to
Hmm.
Berkeley, California. And
Okay.
even though he had opportunities to go to this predominantly white school or white high school, public school, he's always stuck with, I got to go back to Canfield apartments where you got people smoking weed all day, playing basketball. They feel like if you're a black
Hmm.
man, you have to stick to like the stereotypical type, and that's not it. But one
Right.
thing about Paul that I did like is that even though Paul has a lot of different colors and he's making it out of Canfield and have support,
Hmm.
his life could have came at a halt when the police came at him crazy, thinking he was a thief when he had his art books, and that wasn't even the
Right.
case. And he got mouthy because now, just mind you, him getting mouthy with the cop is really like a couple days after they killed Michael Brown. So even though he's
Okay.
trying to disassociate himself
Right.
from his environment, he really can't because no matter
Hmm.
which school you go to, what opportunities you may have, you're still seen as a black man. And even though that, go ahead.
I'm happy that what you said that he didn't forget about his community.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of black people, not a lot, but a number of black people, when they feel like they've so-called made it,
Right.
they forget about their own people or their own community, and they want to get away as far as possible and never look back. Which
Mm-hmm.
we need to look back and pull our own people up. And getting into a white neighborhood or whatever doesn't necessarily mean a better being in a better life. We need to be
At
building up
all.
our own communities. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So how can people? Well, we're going to talk about this again before
Yeah.
to make sure people know how to watch it. But I want you to talk about it now. How can they find to
Yeah.
view it?
So you can go
Do-
to the Facebook page, Dominion Stage. They have like the actual link up. It's free due to COVID. It's free. So you're not pay nothing. It premieres on Friday at 8 o'clock. I'm on the YouTube channel there. It premieres for 3 nights. Friday from 8, Saturday at 4 o'clock, and the last viewing is on Sunday at 2 o'clock. And that's going to be where you can meet the cast, the director, the producer, and like a Q&A to ask any questions that you may have.
Mhm.
So
That's
Dominion.
what I'll be tuning in on Sunday at 2
Mm-hmm.
p.m. Also, audience, you can check him out under Marcus DeVon. He's
Yeah.
known as Marcus Murphy, but on here he's Marcus DeVon. So you can go to his page, Marcus DeVon,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see the information on how to tune into the play on one of those days. But you have to register
Mm-hmm.
early. Get that on in there, register for it, and
And the
it's
link in my
free.
bio too. The link in my bio.
All right,
So it's there.
right, and it's free, ain't so it's no excuse.
No.
It's
Right,
free.
I need a check.
And
So y'all need to like
right.
donate. So I give me a check. Like right now, check.
Yeah, let them know that. Let them know that. So you have a degree in political science.
I do.
Uh,
I do.
that doesn't necessarily mean you have an interest in going into politics, but do you?
So I don't want to be like on the hill as like a politician per se. I
Okay.
don't. But I do plan on going to Emory Law School in Atlanta, Georgia, to be a
Okay.
defense attorney. And I want
Oh.
Yeah, I want to be a defense attorney. And I always say this to my friends. They always be like, you can't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I want all black cases. I want all black cases. Okay? Defense attorney. And I want to be able to defend the people. I
Wow.
mean,
Hmm.
because the reality is we know the system is janky, crooked, racist. We know all that. But
Right.
oftentimes when we have these plans and these goals to go in there and try to fix the system, you can find yourself get in it by not understanding. Oh, I just want a number, so just take this plea deal. Nah, I want to be the
Hmm.
change I wish to see. And if I can't do it there in the system, I can create my own system and work for people. Again, I'm a black man, and no matter how educated I become, no matter how wealthy I may become, I know where I come from, and I know it's important for me to have those values and those standards every step of the way. Money can't change
Right.
me. Education can't change me. Hell, It ain't changed nothing now. I'm still going through the fight. So, and you gotta have
Well,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are, you still black, and they're going to treat you like
Yeah,
that. That's why we need to look out for each other as a people and look out for ourselves.
yeah,
Um, and the whole thing about the system being or needing to be fixed or being
right.
broken, it's not broken. It's just
Mhm. It's
it's
not for us.
designed.
Mhm.
It's designed. It's doing what it was designed to do. It was
That's right.
created to be against us. So
Yeah.
we have to build our own stuff. That's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. And that's not about being against anybody. But you have like Asians in this country. You have a Chinatown.
Yeah.
You have a Chinatown in almost every major city across the country. You
Yeah.
have you have little Italies and
Hmm.
almost all across the country where Italians run things and um, Chinatown where Asians run things. And it's not just for Chinese, but Chinatown they also welcome in the other Asian
Hmm.
factions like Japanese or you know Korean or whatever. They all come together. They stick together like that
Yeah.
under that. So we need to have our own spaces too where we run everything as well instead of just having everybody else come into our neighborhoods, opening up businesses in our neighborhood, taking our money and then taking the money that they make off of us back into their own communities.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're just rude.
Yeah.
They're rude to our people. Some of the Asians are rude. Of course, some of the Caucasians are rude
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
black folks in black neighborhoods. But they'll take our money and then they'll, you know, go
And
on about their business or
yeah.
whatever.
I was looking at when I was preparing for my role with Paul for this play because it's very heavy. I was looking at the L.A. riots about the Rodney King, and I forget the young lady name, but she was like 15 when the Korean woman had killed her and got like
Mhm.
no time for it. Now
Yeah.
and it was just crazy to me, and I remember looking up the person, the judge that seen that case, and how she tried to say, "Well, I know good people. I know
Hmm.
good people, and she is not a criminal."
Right.
Bro, what? So, but then you give a black man who
That
at that in the same month now in that documentary, you give a black man damn near like 15 years because he kicked the goddamn dog. But this Korean woman, she's a
right.
good person. She means no harm.
Yeah.
I know character when I see it. Okay.
That sounds like Trump when he said that those people that was in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
what part of that you know where that whole thing happened in Virginia a couple of years ago, and he said
Charlotte,
some of yeah, so some of those people were good people out there. He said some of those terrorists were good people.
yeah, Charlottesville.
That
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I never knew that you wanted to be an attorney. That's great.
Yeah,
And
that's what I want to do.
I'm not mad at you for saying you want to be an attorney for black people. That's a good thing.
Yeah. And I
You
want
know,
my own
uh,
practice too. I really do. So I plan on
right.
working hard to
You
do that.
know, because I remember Stephanie Mills said something about that. I saw her on doing an interview, and she said that she likes performing for black people, and she said there were people who was trying to get her to so-called crossover, which is all fine and dandy because I guess that means more money and stuff like that. But she said, why? Why does she need to? She likes entertaining her people. She doesn't have anything against anybody else, but it is what it is.
Right.
So with the theater thing, I know it's different from film,
Man.
and because with film you get to do different takes. Cut,
Mm-hmm.
do it over. Cut, do it over.
Yeah.
Do it over. As many times you have to do it over as much time as you have. I mean, you don't always have the luxury of having a bunch of time. It depends on the location and who owns the location and how much time they give you to shoot.
Right.
But with a play,
Mm-hmm.
and it's live and the audience is there, you don't get to do take two, take three, take. If you feel like you messed up, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You can't say, "Oh, excuse me, audience, let me do that over again."
Right.
Right? You got to keep going. So you got to be totally on point with that. So
And I'm kind of
you're going
sad.
to go
I'm
ahead.
kind of sad that COVID happened because when I had to go for my dress rehearsal, I went in as if I was like at the play, and I
Hmm.
asked her, what was your original idea for if we had like an actual production, and the way it was gonna be set up is like we was gonna be in the church amongst the congregation, and we was
Okay.
gonna be sitting amongst the audience, and then when it was your time to go, you get up by reciting like your monologue. I had like a 5-page
Mhm.
monologue, bro. I had to memorize
Mhm.
and the different levels, the different tones, and I loved it because my boy went to a conservatory school, and I remember that day he was helping me just go over my lines before I went to my dress rehearsal, and he was like, no, 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 and I was like, getting frustrated, but I was like, you know what, you need this because I want the best out of myself, and I want to do my justice for Paul. And when I got,
What?
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go. No, I'm sorry.
And
Go
when I
ahead.
got on that set, the stage managers helped me like go over my lines while they was working
Mhm.
with another actor in her set,
Okay.
and she started getting like chills, and then I was like, well, I guess I did my job, and then I did like my takes a few times, and I think I did
Mhm.
Paul justice. I really do. I really do.
I
It,
believe you did too. So people always ask me, how do I prepare for a role, or how do I memorize lines? Because I'm known for being able to memorize a lot of lines. The way, and they're like, who helps you? Nobody helps me because I live by myself and I normally memorize lines alone. Nobody is helping me. And I know that some people may use a tape recorder and stuff like that. Some people do use a recording device to help them learn lines. Uh, I just was blessed with a good memory when it comes to lines like that. I'll like take the first few lines and I'll repeat them over to myself, a few times. And then I'll move on down to the next set of lines and repeat
Mhm.
that over. And then I'll go back to the first set of lines and repeat the first set of lines with the second set of lines like that. Um, and I pretty much kind of lock it in like that.
Yeah.
What is your process in memorizing lines? How do you memorize? And are you good at learning fast?
Yeah, I'm
Learn a
pretty
lot down fast.
good photogenic memory. The way I learn though is when I get a script, I just always read the whole story first. I want to get a feel for what
Okay.
I'm reading, and I want to
That's
understand.
important.
Yeah, always
Yeah.
first and foremost. And
Hmm.
but first I do that first, and then I pray the second time, like Lord, I ought to
Because
help
some
me.
people will just read their part.
Right,
They just
right.
read their part,
I
you
read the
know.
whole script, and I make sure because I want to
Right.
make sure that if it's like with a movie, I know when to come in after your line, but make sure that it's
Hmm.
just as stronger than my counterpart. I don't want to
Okay.
be too flat and I don't want to be too high, but I want to make sure that I'm
Right.
just right and I'm
Hmm.
and I stand out. So I always do that. And then when I read the second time, I pray. I always pray and I ask God for clarity. Okay, what this time around, what can you give me I didn't get the first time? And I read it again. And then I have like my voice recorder on my phone and I have it like in my earpods, like I'm listening to music. So the way I want to learn
Okay.
songs, I'm not really good at learning all the songs, but I can know some lines though when it comes to film.
You
So
sing?
I say I'm not really good at like knowing all the rap songs and all that good
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
But
I was about to ask you, do you sing?
I don't sing. No. I can lip sync. I can lip sync. Man, I got you. I can lip sync. I
You can
got
lip sync, but you can't bust a note.
I can't,
All
but
right.
you know what?
All
Let me not
right.
say that. Let me not say that. If I get the right vocal coach that can take me to a
Hmm.
level that give me a little tune, then I'm here. Same with Carmen.
Well, okay. Well, that's what you got to do then.
That's what I got to do. But right now, I'm cool.
Get you a
Okay,
vocal coach
give me a
because
little vocal coach.
that also opens up more opportunities for you as a
Mm-hmm.
performer
Yeah,
because it allows you to be able to do musicals and stuff like that at some point.
absolutely.
Right? So you should definitely do that,
Hell yeah,
and maybe
absolutely.
take some dance lessons too.
I
You
do. I
know,
start that really soon because I start that really soon in March. Actually,
well, if you're going to start the dance, you got to get the music too. You got to get the voice lessons because that opens up opportunities for you.
yeah, for sure.
Broadens your scope, and when they have auditions for musicals and stuff like that, like maybe when Broadway opens back up and they may need somebody to step in the
Mhm.
Temptations musical or
I love the
whatever.
Temptations. I do that.
Maybe
David
you could be
Ruffin is
one
my
of
favorite.
maybe you could be one of them. See, that's why you need to get on those voice lessons. You need to get on
Mhm.
those voice lessons, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's that, and then I just record it. I keep going back, and then I always go back to like the beginning of it, because again, it's
Hmm.
important that before you just read your line, you understand the whole feel of it, and that you make sure that you can
Right,
immerse yourself in this role. Because once you step on that set, I'm no longer Marcus. You're no longer Cartiz. You're that person
right.
that's super trained. And I always think it's important to do the justice for that character. So for Paul, or for my other movie I just filmed like 2 weeks ago called Behind Closed Doors, A Redemption of
Okay,
Love, is like a biopic based off a husband and his wife and their trials and tribulations of their marriage and all that good stuff. So when I was on
okay.
that set, I had to be calm. I couldn't be what Marcus wouldn't do. You know what I mean? So each
Right,
role is different, each preparation is different. Like, and for this play, even though we filmed it, the rehearsals was a little bit more extraneous than a film. Like we had
Mhm.
what did we have? We had improv sessions, and then we had
Right.
to go, yeah, like all of that stuff, and it even helps you with your lines too, to the point where you really know the story, bro, and you can't even psych yourself out because you've been learning so much. At this point, I don't even need my script no more. So being able to meet my different actors and have those rehearsals and even talk to my director, because again, this is my first production, so I had to be on it a little bit harder than the people I work with who come from a background of theater.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I had a good team behind me. I had a really good team.
So how do you feel about, because I already know you're one of those actors like myself that delve into it and become the character. And because I always say acting is becoming,
Coming.
if you know what I mean by that. It's becoming the character.
Mm-hmm.
Not playing pretend, but becoming the character.
Right.
So some people have this notion that it's just playing pretend. Because I don't know if you remember that story that came out a few months ago with the guy, what's his last name? Something Barton, from the show The Shy.
Oh, the
Uh,
guy who got killed off. What is his name? I can't think
well,
of his name.
they wanted him to. There was this so-called controversy going around
Mm-hmm.
where they wanted his character. The show had already been on for 2 years, and he was already on the show for 2 years. But
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to develop a new storyline for his character, where they wanted to put his character into a romantic relationship with a transgender woman,
Mm-hmm.
transgender person. And so the story was that supposedly he had a problem with that, so he decided not to do it. Now he said it's not that he had a problem with that,
Right.
but for whatever reason he didn't do it. But even if he didn't want to do it, I don't feel like he should be ostracized because of that.
For sure.
Um,
For
I
sure.
mean, first of all, he didn't call anybody out of their name. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
degrade anybody. He didn't say anything against transgender people. He just decided not to do the role for
Right.
whatever reason. And some people were like, "Well, he need to just get over it because y'all normally get paid." Y'all know, he said somebody made it because I made a post about that on Facebook, and somebody came through on my post and was like, actors literally get paid to play pretend, right? And
Right.
I'm like, it's not playing pretend.
It's
There's a
not
lot
pretend
more
real
to
life.
it. It's not just getting up on stage and reading lines or getting in front of a camera and reciting lines. You have to really actually get into the mindset of that character that you're playing. You have
Mm-hmm.
to become that character. So it's not just getting up on stage and playing pretend.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I already know what you think because you said
Yeah.
it's not playing pretend, which it isn't. But some people who are into acting who don't act themselves will make that judgment, that
Right.
mistaken
And it's
judgment
not fair.
or whatever.
Mhm. And it's not fair.
Right.
I told one of my boys, like, don't take every role that's presented to you because every role not for you. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
say no. It's okay to speak up if you get on the set and you feel like, okay, well, I know I don't want to be, disrespectful to the director or the producer. Can we have a conversation, prior to you coming? And if you feel
Mm-hmm.
like y'all can't have that conversation and you're uncomfortable, then it's okay to say, you know what, it's not for me. Because somebody else might not be that vocal or may not see it as a problem of whatever it may be that suits you. So I don't think the
Right.
young man who that what's his name?
Is it
Singer.
something Kilpatrick, something Barton? I can't remember
Something
his
like
last
that.
name.
But
Yeah.
Luke James replaced him. So I don't,
Right.
again, we don't know Luke James' story. And if he felt
Mm-hmm.
comfortable doing what he did, kudos to that brother. He don't take nothing from him. But I don't think the other guy should be, you know, discriminated or looked at as a person like, oh my God, like you should have just did it. All money ain't good money. And when you
Right.
do certain things or certain roles, and you know this as well, you can get typecast, you could be seen. And like he said, and I agree with him when he said on the interview, he's from Chicago. He's a
Mm-hmm.
Chicago man. So regardless
Right.
of the roles that he portrays or what he does, he's
Mm-hmm.
going to still be seen as a man first. And if that's not
Right.
who he is, you can't get mad about that. And like he's also mentioned in that interview too, I thank Lena Waithe for the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? For giving me that platform.
Mm-hmm.
But again, don't scrutinize me for speaking up the one time I'm not comfortable with something. Because like you said, if you were
Right.
disrespecting them people or had like a tantrum, then by all means, you got to go. But if I didn't do none of
Right.
that,
I mean, because like I auditioned for a play which I found out about the night before. I was
mm-hmm.
sent an email saying that they were having auditions tomorrow for this play called As Much as I Can. Right. And it was supposed to be a paid gig or whatever. And I went to the audition. I should have been better prepared, but look, I went there very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I went there very comfortable. I had on my hair was cut, and it was shorter then. But I had on a baseball cap,
Mm-hmm.
and I had on a short sleeve shirt and some jeans, and I had on flip flops. I went to the audition with flip flops, and I had on my ankh and everything. And I went to then basically, and if I had thought about it, because I already have a couple of monologues that I already know
Right.
automatically anyway. And so there was like, you know any monologues already? And I'm like, no, but they gave me something to do cold. And
Mm-hmm.
they give you a few minutes to look at it. And actually, it was a monologue from A Raisin in the Sun.
Okay.
And it's actually, but the way it's written, it's actually one of Beneatha's monologues. But the way it's written, a guy could do it too, because it's the monologue. If you're familiar with A Raisin in the Sun, it's the monologue that she does when she's talking to Asa Guy about why she may not want to be a doctor anymore, or why she wanted to become a doctor.
Yeah.
So I go into the room, and it's a whole bunch of people in there. It's still mostly Caucasians. That's cool. And there was like one black guy in there, I think. And
Yeah.
so the director, well, actually, it was a play that was supposed to be about HIV,
Okay.
right? It's supposed to be a play about HIV in the black community, but it had a white writer, white producers, and all that. The organization that was producing it, I think, was ran by a black guy that was in the room, but the writer was white, the director was white, the producers were white of the play. And even though it was supposed to be a play about HIV in the black community, the writers were white, the writer was white and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I go in the room, and I guess because of the way I was dressed and all that, first of all, he said, Caltes, that's a nice name. He said, I've heard your name several times today. Of course, they may be like, who's been talking about me?
Right.
And I think they probably was talking about me in a not so good way, like that's that pro black actor right there, or whatever. That's probably some of the other black people that was there saying about me. So he said, "Did you have anything prepared?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but they gave me this to read." I said, "It could go." I said, "With cold reading, sometimes they go well,
Right.
and sometimes they don't."
Right.
That's I was being honest, because there have been times when I've knocked a cold reading out the park, and other times where it was at.
No, same.
So, so he said to me, he said, "Well, we just want to see what you can do." He said, I'm probably going to have to stop you."
Okay.
That's what he said. "I'm probably going to have to stop you to give you some direction." He said, "But we just want to see what you can do." So I start to do the monologue, and I keep going, and I keep going, and I keep going. He don't stop me. I look up, and he's sitting there with his mouth hanging open.
Right.
He's sitting there with his mouth hanging open, with his hand on his face, like
Right.
that, like he was shocked, like he didn't think I was going to be able to do anything. And so he was like, "Wow, that was really, really, really great." And everybody else in the room liked it. He said, "That was really great to be a cold reading and everything," and so forth and so forth. They said, "Don't you ever doubt yourself again," and all this and that. So they gave me these two sides. "I want you to read for this role of Larry, and this role of the pastor," right?
Okay.
So as he's walking me out of the room to go look over these characters, he said, "Well, Larry is a really big role, um, but he said, I have to let you know that Larry performs in drag. Would you be comfortable doing it?" I'm like, "I'm not doing that."
Right.
So he said, "You sure? Not even for a paid gig?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." He said, "You seem adamant about that, and I don't want nobody to be getting offended because I don't want to do that."
Right. Right. Right.
It's just something that I choose not to do, and
You're
I
not
happen
Dean
to be
Grimes. It's not Holiday Hawk.
right, right. Even if it was, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have
Yeah.
no
Like
desire to do
that's
it,
what I'm saying.
and people already know because I've talked about it on this show and other stuff. I use the term same gender loving. I don't know if you're familiar with that term or not.
No, you can explain it to me.
Well, you know what homosexual is, right?
Yeah.
And gay and all that, but I don't use the terminology of gay and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Same gender loving is a term that was created by a black man by the name of Dr. Cleo Monago.
Okay. I didn't know.
Um, yeah, and it's just something that's more culturally affirming for black people who may be quote unquote homosexual or lesbian,
Okay.
right? Now, I'm sure you've heard of James Baldwin before, right?
Yeah, I love him. That's one amazing author, one of my best friend's favorite authors.
Okay, well, James Baldwin, who spoke out about black rights and stuff like that a lot. Uh, there's an old article which somebody had brought to my attention a few years ago
Mm-hmm.
that where he was interviewed by somebody and he talked about the word gay and stuff like that. He didn't really feel that it fits black people. He saw that as just another way for white homosexuals to have their own piece of the so-called white supremacy pie, if you know what I mean by that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so he didn't feel like gay would something that we should be using to establish ourselves as black people if you are homosexual. Because when they started the whole gay movement, which I found out about over the past 10 years, they didn't even want black people at the table with them.
Mm-hmm.
White homosexuals would do things to keep black people out of their places, their clubs or whatever, stuff like that. They would do stuff to keep them out. And also with the whole gentrification thing. Um, because there's a black discussion group that I'm a part of called BMX,
Okay.
which haven't been able to meet because of this whole thing.
Right.
But sometimes they watch films. And one time they watched a documentary called Flag Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
FLAG, like the American flag, Flag Wars. And in this documentary, it showed how a lot of white homosexuals were involved in the whole gentrification process. You know how white folks come into black neighborhoods
Right.
and scout out the neighborhood, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "I want that. I want that neighborhood." It don't matter that somebody already lived there. They just say, "I want that,"
Yeah.
and so they find a way to try to take it by using methods like redlining and so forth, like that, to keep black people from getting bank loans to be able to fix up their homes. So that's their way of kicking black people out of the neighborhoods. And a lot of white homosexuals were involved in that, getting black people kicked out of their neighborhoods so they could take over. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't identify with LGBTQ and all that. And every time I turn around, they keep adding a letter to that. So I don't even want to be involved with all of that. I'm just me. I'm a black man first and foremost. My sexual orientation doesn't define who I am.
Right.
Um,
For sure.
actually, my next film project, We Brothers, which I hope to shoot in April, which is about a friendship between six black men who come from different backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all black men who love and care about the black community.
Right.
And three of them are same gender loving, two of them are heterosexual, and one of them is a bisexual brother.
Mm-hmm.
But they all love the black community. So in this project, you will see healthy relationship between black men and black women,
Right.
and you will also see healthy same gender loving black relationship as well. Because I'm always about trying to promote black love, period.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, it's there's a lot of different things that's going to go on in there. You got a little serious face when I told you.
No, I'm listening. Like, no, I was listening because it's like that's good because you need those representations, and people need to understand. Just everybody may not identify like you just mentioned the LGBTQ. You know what I mean? But just
Right,
same gender loving. Like, I love you. Cool. I don't have to identify as this or as that because I don't. It don't force that.
right,
And I think
right,
the white people, they always, again, they really don't want you at the table. Then when you get in the table as black people, you feel like, oh, we have arrived, and in the reality, they don't
yeah.
want you, bro. So, and I
Well, a
feel
lot
like,
of black people have attached themselves to that too. They like to
yeah,
call themselves gay and all that. I don't identify with that, and I don't knock any black person who decides to call themselves by that. But
absolutely.
because recently, a sister who's an actress, she
Mm-hmm.
tagged me in a post because somebody was looking for someone to be a part of a podcast interview they were doing, and they wanted a black man who was same gender loving,
Mm-hmm.
who could speak up for the black community to speak. But they didn't use the terminology same gender loving. They used another term which I don't really care for,
Okay.
which is queer,
Mm.
queer and gay. I don't identify with those things.
Right.
So all I did was let it be known that I don't identify as gay and queer. I'm a same gender loving brother. I don't really uh, attach myself to those particular titles or those labels.
Right.
But the sister who was looking for someone, not the person who tagged me, but the sister who was looking for someone, and I'm not sure, but I think she is a lesbian. She seemed to get offended by the fact that I didn't want to be identified as queer.
Mm.
So she was like, she said something to the sister who tagged me. She said, well, that's okay. You tried. If he's going to allow semantics to stop him from being able to, reach out and speak to people, it's not that I was allowing semantics to stop me from anything.
Right.
I never said that I was not going to do the podcast.
Right.
All I said was how I want to be identified.
Right.
I wasn't going to sit up there and let her introduce me as queer because I don't like that
Right.
word. You know. So she's the one who had the issue, not me. She should have respected how I wanted to be identified. And not if I don't want to be called by those particular labels as queer and gay, don't call me that. If that's how you want to be identified, that's fine. But respect what I want to be called too. And I'm a black man first and foremost above everything else because, I've dealt with police brutality and stuff like that in my life as well. Okay. And when I was harassed and assaulted by racist white cops, they didn't stop me and ask me what my sexual orientation was before they assaulted me.
Right. They saw a
Okay.
black man.
They just thought I was a black man,
Yeah.
period. Okay. So, yeah. But,
Absolutely. No, you're right though. I think, and and back to like what you were saying though, like you are a black man first. And first off, don't no black man be called no queer for real. They might be called like gay or something like that. But
some of them that want to fit into the system and everything do call themselves that now. There
really,
are some black homosexuals that call themselves queer. They
okay,
call themselves queer. Like Black Lives Matter was started by 3 black lesbians, right?
yeah,
And they use that term queer. They use the terminology of queer this and queer that.
yeah.
And actually, when I did an episode of the C Note where a friend of mine was actually interviewing me because she wanted to interview me on my podcast, like the next day or whatever, I got a message,
Yeah.
From them.
Mm.
It's disappeared since then, but it was in my inbox. I got a
Right.
message from them saying that they wanted me to be a brand ambassador for them.
Okay.
And I opted not. I didn't respond. I opted not to do that because there's a lot of stuff going on with not with the banner of Black Lives Matter itself, but stuff that some of the women who started Black Lives Matter have been found out to be up to.
Okay.
Like they're trying to shut out black heterosexual men and stuff like that, and building the black family. There's some stuff going on,
Right. Right.
and there's some recently some story came out about some underhanded stuff that was being done,
Mm-hmm. Are
but
we
I'm not going to
surprised?
get into it.
Are we surprised though? I mean, are we surprised?
No, no,
Okay.
not at all,
Right.
not at
Right.
all, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
What sounds like a great movie in the making? Somebody, I just
Oh,
saw that.
the We Brothers series about the 3 same gender loving and the 3
Oh, and
heterosexuals.
the 2 heterosexual brothers and the one by okay, because I didn't even see that comment until now. That's why I didn't know what they was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I already had my cast and everything for that, which you may have seen me advertise that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, great cast, and I think I know they're gonna do phenomenal. So I can't wait to support it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something else I want to say, but I won't say it on here about
Okay.
that project. But
I got you. I got you.
but can't give away everything. But yeah, but the goal for that is for it to become a series eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting off as a short film, but I want it to become a series.
Okay.
Absolutely. So you said that you want to do roles specifically that are meaningful and impactful for the black community in a positive way. And I know that a great brother, Chadwick Boseman, who
Yeah.
unfortunately passed away,
My
he kind
acting
of said the
coach,
same.
my acting coach, also his acting coach at Howard, he was a professor there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that for Chadwick Boseman, it was important to him, the roles that he accepted.
Yeah.
Right. And he wasn't going to do just anything either. And he didn't want to do all the stereotypical stuff neither, so to speak.
Yeah.
And if that's also important to you, it's also important to me as well. I'm not going to play just any and everything. Now, I have played like in a church play years ago when I was involved in church. I played a drug addict before.
Right.
And stuff like that. But it was a church play, and
Right.
there was a message behind it or whatever. And so I've done some other roles in the past that I would necessarily do now, unless there's a message to help
Right.
Black people.
Right.
Like I wouldn't necessarily write a screenplay right now about, drug dealing and all that, showing Black people shooting and killing each other.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make a story like that unless there's something in that story to bring about a change
For
to
sure.
help the Black community. Because sometimes you got to show the ugly part to get to
The good. Yeah.
the good part of the healing part. But I'm not going to just put something out there just showing us shooting and killing each other with
Mhm.
no type of progress or healing or resolve to it.
And
You know.
also too, we have those stories. Like we have those stories. You don't always have to keep
Mm.
repeating history itself. We know what goes on. Now create
Right.
new stuff. That's kind of like right now, like you know, in Hollywood, they recreating or remaking things that happened in the '90s.
Hmm.
Be fresh, be brand new, have a
Right. I
fresh
totally
idea. You know
agree.
what I mean? I think it's
Yeah.
important. Even in the independent realm, it's so much freedom of the things you can create and not be like stigmatized by or just have bondage there. Like if you got a story
Hmm.
that you haven't seen before, create that
Yeah.
story. Now don't just write a script together and then get some friends off the corner like y'all doing something. No, treat it as a
Right.
job. Make sure
Yeah.
because again, when you attach your name to something, I had learned that too. Me being 19 or 18 at the time to 27, I've
Hmm.
experienced some things, learned from some things,
Right.
different productions, different sets. So each set that you be on, you learn something new. I don't need to go to school for that because I've been on it for so long. So it's
Right.
important that what I attach my name to now, it is important for the Black boy behind me. We know in the
Hmm.
projects you got the drug dealer, you got the weed people, the guns. We know all that. So now
Hmm.
let's think about what else can we do. Let's make a movie about the
Right.
boy in the hood that's going to school. Let's make a movie about the
Hmm.
person that made it out of poverty. You know what I mean? And that's why when I chose my play, I can connect to that because I know not just so much for me, but it's other guys like Paul who want a way out. They just need the opportunity. Education be
Right.
opportunity. It don't always have to be basketball. But everybody don't play basketball. I can play, but that's not my meal
Right.
ticket.
Right.
You're not gonna make it my
Yeah.
meal ticket. I'm a Black boy. I gotta play sports, get out, because that's not true. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Because
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, because I was cast over the past few months or so. I was cast in a local web series. Well, actually, I was cast in a couple of web series. One was shooting before this whole thing happened,
Right.
and I only got to shoot one of the episodes that I'm in because I was supposed to be in the last 5 episodes. And what she was trying to do, Rosalind Gaines is her name. You,
Oh yeah, I've
I'll
heard of it.
connect
I
you with.
think yeah.
Yeah, she's a very good writer, so definitely I'll connect you with her. But she had a series called Black Oaks, which she was having shot. And her goal was to have 10 episodes done. That was supposed to be the first season. We
Mhm.
didn't get to shoot all 10 episodes yet. If so, that it would have been out by now.
Right.
But this whole thing interrupted shooting. But since the pandemic, I was asked to be in another web series called Black Therapy. Now I know I took this brother through a whole lot of stuff because a lot of people would be like, "Forget you. What you ask me all these questions for?" But um, the brother who plays my best friend in the Eternal Extra, he had recommended me to this other guy because he was like helping with the project. And so when he hit me up about this show, Black Therapy, I was asking him all these questions about the character and what's the purpose of the show. It's called Black Therapy and it's hood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know what Black Therapy was about. I hope I ain't losing connection with you.
It's loading.
Okay. Um, Yeah, because this is a good interview. I don't want it to get cut off.
There we
There you
go.
go.
God got
but
us.
Black Therapy. So I asked him all these questions. I'm like, I said I'm not going to be degrading Black women. I don't want to play something where I'm degrading Black women.
Mhm.
I mean, and I know some characters may have to be like that to get to a certain point. Like if you're going to be like in a August Wilson play or something like that, you may have to play a character.
Right.
But that's different.
Right.
Those are classics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
as far as like doing a modern day web series, I want to know what's the purpose of it. And so I wanted to, I don't want to be degrading Black women, stuff like that. And I, I said, I'm not, I said, I'm not going to have a white love interest. That's what I said. You're not going to show me on screen all hugged up on some white person, and I'm not being hateful when I say that, but
No,
I feel a responsibility to show Black people loving each other because I do see that there is a war against Black love
yeah.
nowadays. They're trying to pit Black people against each other, and so I'm trying to do whatever I can to promote Black love. You know, definitely. So
Denzel, he
it's
didn't
very
kiss.
important.
He don't kiss white women. Denzel,
Huh?
Denzel Washington, when he did the Pelican Brief with Julie Roberts,
Hmm.
he made it perfectly clear we would not have a kissing scene. She wanted to kiss him,
Right.
but he don't
Hmm.
do that. No.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, and Spike Lee got him because because he played Malcolm X because when Malcolm X before Malcolm X went to jail, he was involved in that stuff. But
Yeah.
he got over that. But
Right. You're right.
he fortunately got over that. But yeah, and then there was another actor. I don't know if you ever heard of Eric LaSalle or not. Um, Eric LaSalle, you can look him up. He was on an old TV show. I can't remember the name of it, where he played a doctor. It was one
Okay.
of those shows. What was the name of it? Emergency or something? I don't know. Eric LaSalle, look him up. He was a very good actor actually, and he kind of got was the blackballed
Yeah.
because they wanted to give his character a white love interest. They wanted to put his character with a white woman, and he refused to do it
Right.
because what he said was um, out of his respect and love for Black women, he was not going to be on screen being seen all hugged up and kissing on white women.
Yeah.
And because he did that, he got uh,
Blackball.
blackballed for a while, which is a shame. 'Cause he's a very good actor, and that's why we need to have our own source of entertainment in studios so we can look out for our actors and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, um, you know, definitely. And he's still around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eric LaSalle, very good actor.
No, yeah.
You know,
That's kind of like I'm not no Tyler Perry fan. No offense to people that's watching, but I don't support Tyler Perry.
well, look,
I don't like the way he portrayed Black men, like his show called The Oval. I don't know if you ever seen that show on
mhm,
BT. Like I seen it like maybe like once, and I mean like the episode that I came in on because you hear the hype about the show.
right,
You gotta watch it. You got a
yeah,
Black woman with a white man and all
right,
that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna check it out. Let me see what's the hype about. And when
hmm,
I came onto this particular episode, it kind of threw me off how he portrayed the Black woman to just be so weak,
okay,
so weak in the
uh,
sense where if your husband is interested in the same loving person, do you honestly think a Black woman gonna stand there and be belittled while a white man parading her face, kissing on her husband that she's still currently married to? Nah, nah. It
right,
ain't all, and it goes back to the roads you choose, and all money ain't good money. You know what I mean? Because regardless
right,
if you getting a check, he giving them opportunities. Kudos to that brother. I'm not knocking for what he's doing for
hmm,
Black artists, but what I do knock and I do have a problem with is the representation that's out there. Because again, it's a Black boy behind you, it's a Black girl
hmm,
behind you, and if you give
hmm,
them that representation that it's okay to be devalued, humiliated, what are we really teaching
hmm,
people? Because again,
right,
I wasn't born with a check, so I shouldn't let the
hmm,
check change who I am now. But everybody don't
right,
have that mindset, and I just think again, have your own studios, do what you got to do, but make the content that's going to be memorable, so I can look back at it when I get older and I'm all shrivel up and stuff. But the Black
oh
actors
God.
behind me too, you know what I mean. But the Black
Why you
actors,
gotta be shriveled up,
but I'm
yo?
old,
Why
when
you
I'm
gotta be
old,
shriveled up?
I'm old. It might be like 100 years old. I might be like I'm gonna look like
Oh,
50,
okay,
and
okay, well,
I'm old, But
okay,
I'm old, but I just think you have to create things that Black people can say, you know what, I'm proud of this moment. I can look back on this. That Black brother, that Black girl really did that. If you just doing the work though, just to be doing it,
right.
you sad, and that's just
Good.
it is. You sad.
As well, Cicely Tyson is in her late 90s, but she ain't all shriveled up.
No, that's my
She
girl.
ain't
That's
wrinkled.
auntie. That's grandma right there.
That good black don't crack if you
You hear
take
me?
care of
Her
it.
and my grandfather Sidney Portier. They know they doing it. That's grandpa right there. I love them. And my grandparents. You hear me?
Is that those are grandparents?
Those not grandparents.
Okay. Well, Mr. Tyler Perry, I'm not a big fan of a lot of his stuff. I mean, there's a couple of films that he did that I okay with,
Right.
but because people was like, well, what would you do if he called you up and wanted to put you in something? I said, first of all, I would have to see the script, and I want to know what he gonna have me doing, right? People was like, really? You gonna question Tyler Perry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I mean, just because he's Tyler Perry, and he got a big name, don't mean I'm just gonna jump at whatever opportunity he offers me, whatever role he wants to give me. I'm not gonna play just any and everything,
Right.
you know. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna want to see what it is. I'm not just gonna jump on it just because it's Tyler Perry.
Right.
Uh,
No, yeah,
because
for real.
and I haven't really seen the Oval like that. I maybe have seen little bits and pieces of it, but I mean, because he has like a whole lot of shows on at one time, right?
They
He got the Oval. He got how many shows he got on TV right now?
Pistons,
He got
the
he
have
got
and a
the
have nots.
Oval, have nots, Ruthless. This show called Bruh,
And
right?
somebody
Now
I saw on
I
Twitter
tried I
they was
tried to watch Bruh.
okay.
I tried to watch it, but I
Corny.
couldn't get through
Probably was
it.
corny.
Yeah, and it was stereotypical. You have four black guys who are friends. Three of them have great careers and already established, and then you have the one brother who I think who's supposed to be like the main lead,
Okay.
who is trying to get his hold in life and what he's trying to do because he opened a restaurant which his mother was helping him with, and his mother, I couldn't take too much of her because she was a loudmouth, a
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical loudmouth black woman saying any and everything out of her mouth. And she was cussing and saying all types of stuff, right? People calling me. Cussing about I don't know what that was anyway. It's probably one of them damn telemarketers.
Right.
But I don't know how why they give start giving you your cell phone number anyway. But anyway, she was saying any and everything out of her mouth, cussing and saying everything, and I think she even said the word coochie and all talking about her son and all this kind of stuff. Because the mother was hot to trot and talking about how she don't want no old man. She like young men. She like them young and all this and that. And she was just over the top saying all types of stuff. Um, and so I'm like, the show. And then when you saw the women that the brothers were attracted to, it was all stereotypical. All of the women, basically, that one episode I saw were like extremely, they were like extremely light
Mm-hmm.
skin, extremely light skin, or
Colorism.
racially, huh?
It goes back to colorism. Like, you too
Yeah,
dark, you ugly, but if you like you pretty, everybody want those.
right. So he had these women who were like really light skinned, almost close to white, cast as the girlfriends of the black guys, you know, stuff like that. And then, like I said, the mother was over the top and just obnoxious for no reason and stuff like that. So I couldn't watch it. But he has a whole lot of shows out. But he has like what, 7 shows on the air? How many shows he got on the air?
I
6
think
at one time.
about four, I believe.
Yeah, was a whole lot of them because he has the have and have nots. He got if loving you was wrong. He
Okay.
got ruthless, the Oval, bruh. That's 5 right there.
Okay.
Um, Sisters. Oh yeah, he got that one called Sisters too. Cause he
Somebody
got one
told
called
me.
Bruh.
Somebody told me that's like the new girlfriends in the making.
Oh, is it?
They probably just was lying, cause yeah, no.
Well, I actually like Girlfriends, so I don't know if that's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Girlfriend is a
Girlfriends,
good show. Amar Blocker Kill is an amazing writer. She used to work, with
right?
Moesha and the Parker. So she did her time. She did her
Hmm.
dues, but don't compare her work to Tyler Perry with the whole,
Right.
because that's not at all. That's why I'm like, sure.
Hmm.
Like, if you won't compare Tim to her, we really has failed as a system of entertainment as black
Yeah,
people.
and
Because
I respect the brother from where he's came from because he was homeless at one time and sleeping out of his guy. I respect everything that he's accomplished.
for sure.
And I definitely would like to meet him one day, but I'm not going to be in just any and everything just because if he would offer me something, because I'm aware of what I'm doing and
Yeah.
I'm intentional with what I'm playing. I'm not going to play just any and everything, just like yourself and just like
Yeah.
um,
Chadwick.
our great brother Chadwick Boseman before he passed, which I would have loved to have gotten the opportunity
I
to
know.
meet him and work with him. definitely. I have a cousin who's an actor,
Hmm.
or a cousin who's a triple threat,
Yeah.
a singer, actor, and dancer who
Hmm.
actually has been in a production with Chadwick some years ago. Yeah, definitely. But hey,
Yeah, and again, and I'm never going to take away from no man or no woman that
Mhm,
look like me, because we all come from humble
mhm,
beginnings. I just
right.
think for me, for myself, that it's just important that if I want to embark on this industry that I know can have its ways, people can have their ways, somebody
Right.
got to be the change in what they are doing. That's all I'm saying. And I feel
I
like if
understand it.
yeah, and I feel like if you hear like back in like the Hattie McDaniels who did the Mammy Rose, or you
Hmm.
hear those other like black artists during that time frame who didn't have an option or have a choice or
Hmm.
felt like, well, if I can make this amount of money compared to working at a restaurant, they just took it. We're in a whole different era now, in a whole different generation. The generations that come along supposed to be better than the one before us. It should never be the same like it was back during those times. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. So we are given that mindset that it's okay to be conditioned and condemned to keep doing the same thing that we're trying to pave away from, then we
Right.
failing as a whole. And we need to reconsider like, okay, why? Why am I in this industry? Why am I doing
Hmm.
this work? What message are
Right.
we trying to give to the people behind? Because again, I could do a crackhead role or a drug dealer role or that loudmouth nigga like, oh, I got these different baby mama type of roles. But
Right.
then
Yeah.
what image am I really giving off to the people behind me that's coming up? Because again, entertainment ain't gonna always be here. Like, when you get like 40 or 50, you might not want to do it no more. But you want to
Hmm.
make sure you have a good content of work that the people that's
Right.
studying you can say, okay, like
Hmm.
for me, my idol is Sidney Poitier. I love Sidney
Hmm.
Poitier. I love during the time he came in, he was breaking down barriers for black men like me at a
Hmm.
time when it really wasn't prevalent. Like for example, he
Hmm.
did To Share with Love or Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Okay? But
Hmm.
that Caucasian actress during that time. Okay? Breaking down the boundaries and the things and not taking on any and everything. He's an immigrant. A lot of people, he's a whole immigrant. So
Yeah, I know.
I love looking at him as an example. People may do
Hmm.
Denzel or whomever, but cool. I like him though because he ain't got to do no more movies ever again, which he hasn't in almost 20 years, sitting for the year.
Hmm.
But the legacy that he has behind him and the work that he has done
Yeah.
is profound. And even when he did Ghost Dad, direct that as his first directorial debut with Bill Cosby and
Hmm.
them. You know what I'm saying? He was
Right.
fatigued by what he did. So that's who I want to look up to. That's who I want to mind. That's who I want to be in conversations with, when I get older and no longer, want to do
Hmm.
this, but also give opportunities to the people that look like me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he studied his craft. He
Hmm.
was knowledgeable what he did and what he didn't do. He didn't accept every money or every opportunity because it was a big name attached to it or this can really
Right.
take you to the next level. No. And
Hmm.
again, those who do those things, that's their story. I don't know their struggle, but I know
Right.
my story. I know what I want to portray. I know my struggle, and I just know what I'm not going to do. And
You
if
know, because some people will say, and you have some actors that agree with that,
Mhm.
that they will say, a real actor will play everything. A real actor will play any role that's offered to them. That's not true.
At all,
A real actor has the ability to play anything, but that doesn't mean that they have to play any and everything that's offered to them.
right?
You have the talent to be able to do that. Or like the role that I turned down. I could have did that
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted to, but I didn't want to.
Right.
And that doesn't take away from my ability as an actor.
No.
I just didn't want to do it. You
Right.
know, people talking about it'll help you grow. First of all, I played a wide range of roles over the years. I've been in a whole lot of plays.
Right.
Roles that I every role that I played has not been like who I am in real life.
Right.
I played a lot of roles that's totally different from me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where I had to show a whole lot of range. But so playing a man who dresses in drag and all that ain't no big deal, no big challenge. I don't see it. It's just not something I want to do. I
Right.
mean, I'm not knocking anybody else that wants to do it, but it's not something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to each their own.
Right.
But I don't choose to do it.
Yeah. No.
So
For
it is
sure. For sure, man.
right. So I mean, like when I played a Vietnam vet back in 2013, which
Mm-hmm.
was 8 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was like really skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was. If I send you a clip to that, I was
Man,
like real thin, huh?
me too. I was real thin too for COVID hit, and I got to work extra hard to get back
I
there.
was like a toothpick though.
Oh man.
I was like a toothpick. You should. I'm gonna send you a clip from that. It was like really,
Please do.
really skinny. I mean, I'm not fat now, but
Mm-hmm.
I figured that I was then. When I played that soldier, I played a soldier who just came home from Vietnam and who had post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
So of course, um, that's not who I am in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't around during the Vietnam War, and I didn't, I never had post-traumatic. Well, I kind of have it now because of some of the stuff I dealt with
Right.
being a black man in this country. But it's not to the same level as a black person, a black man fighting in that war back during that time.
Right.
Um, and so I actually talked to people who went through that, and the woman who directed the play, Professor Amini Courts, she wanted to do that play because her husband had been a Vietnam vet.
Mm.
And at one point, he had suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's why she wanted to do this play. So in this play, I had to show a whole lot of range, a whole lot of different emotions, because sometimes, he'd be happy, partying or whatever, and then he starts seeing, things, flashes from Vietnam, and he starts zapping out and having psychotic episodes. And I had to show, you know, not just the regular emotions, happy and sad, but also had to show strength
Mm.
in some scenes, and I also had to show vulnerability in other scenes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it was a wide range of stuff that I had to show in this one character. So, I don't have to, I don't have to put on a dress to grow as an actor, or play somebody who performs in drag. I mean, it's whatever.
And you have
I'm
to
gonna get
have
off of
respect
that.
for yourself. Like you really do. Because at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, when you're done with that role, you want to still be called Teach. I'm going to still be
Mm-hmm.
Marcus. And if I can't look in the mirror and be happy within myself, knowing in my
That's it.
spirit,
Somebody's going, how it is today. So somebody's going to take that out of context when you said you got to have respect for yourself. They're going to be like, well, what does he mean? You got to have respect for yourself. If you wear a dress and you don't respect yourself, somebody going to have a problem with you for saying that.
oh,
Okay?
well, look, you can have the problem because at the end of the day, again, before entertainment or before anything, we are humans first. You a man, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
man, she a woman, whomever. So if you can
Right.
look in the mirror and be confident and
Mm-hmm.
capable of your ability, you don't need nobody to mind confuse you about, oh, but if you don't do this, you may not get another call.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine if you
Right.
don't get that phone call from them people, because guess what? That wasn't meant for you. But the next
Right.
call you do get, or if you don't get no
Mm-hmm.
calls, then that's when you step in and create your own content that you want to see and how you want to be viewed. Because somebody's always
Right.
watching. Even when we think they're
Mm-hmm.
not watching, they always watching. And if a young boy behind me or the young girl behind that girl, or even looking at men and women as examples, can't look at us as examples, we
Mm-hmm.
fail. And I think as a human, as artists, we fail them. And
Right.
in our artistry, we failed ourselves because we were just so quick for the money. We were so quick for the opportunity, not realizing it's a whole generation behind me. And it's also people that
Mm-hmm.
stand beside me currently that might be like, damn, like if it was that bad, you could have easily talked to one of us first before you made that decision to take that role. Because again, that opportunity may not have been for me, but it's gonna be at least 3, 4, 5 more coming my way anyway.
Right.
So,
Well, exactly. That's
and
what God,
again,
we gotta have opportunities for our people.
mhm,
Definitely. And that's what I'm all about.
yeah,
I got couple of more things I want to ask you, talk to you about before we sign off. And of course,
okay,
before we sign off, finally, we're going to talk about your play that you have coming up again this weekend.
yeah,
One more time to remind people. Uh, but when you talk about the future generations again, one thing I always say, we can't keep passing on the torch
right,
of oppression,
yeah,
passing on the torch of oppression to the next generation. And I always hear some of our people say, that's all right. If it don't happen in our time, it'll happen in our children's time or our grandchildren's time. Like, that's being lazy to me.
for sure.
That's being lazy to me because some black people today don't want to stand up and fight and get us out of this racist system. So they want to leave it for the next generation to deal with
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting up off their asses and fighting to get our people free so that our children won't have to deal with this bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I feel like
About passing on that we keep passing on the torch from generation to generation because I'm sure that our great grandparents and our grandparents and stuff like that probably felt that
mm-hmm.
um they probably didn't think that this stuff was still going to be going on,
Yeah.
but here we are, it's still going on. Uh, and I hate to think that 50 years from now that black children are still going to be dealing with this,
Right.
still fighting for the rights that should be our born rights.
Right.
It's
I think
ridiculous that we're still fighting for our born rights at this day and time.
I think we need to address what's going on, but stop trying to be part of every system and do our own thing, like the Black Panthers when they were around.
Mm-hmm.
Just different, creating our own. I think it's important. Why we looking for the civil rights and why we want to be with this organization or be with this
Mm-hmm.
committee. Stop it. Stop it.
Right.
That's a
I
disadvantage.
totally
It's a disadvantage.
I totally agree about us coming together and declaring sovereignty, and developing our own government, our own system, our own judicial system. We need to be policing our own people
Yeah.
and having our own communities. And when we do have our own communities, again, of course, we have to have uh, our own sources of protection.
For sure.
We have to protect ourselves because they're not. Well, they've already shown they're not going to just leave us alone and let us do our thing. So we have to make sure that we protect ourselves and so forth. But one thing that when I asked you about how do you prepare for a role, I think that's where you were starting to say something
Mm-hmm.
about comedy, right?
Oh yeah, like comedy. Like, so if it's too heavy for me, like if the content is too heavy, you know what I mean. I try to like look at some comedy just to ease my mind. Because oftentimes,
Okay.
depending on how heavy it is, like this play I'm working on, and you will see on Sunday when you look at it, it was a lot. The not so much like because of the content, like the racial slurs and
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth, and the racism, because we experience it every day,
Right.
but just the preparation that each character made to go through. And I know for me personally, like with Paul, he had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different variations, and I had to look at like a lot of heavy content to prepare because again, I never done a play before, and I
Okay.
knew the content that Dale Orlando Smith wrote was heavy. Again, it was a one-woman show, but she did all the characters,
All the roles. That's
men
amazing. Yeah.
and women,
Okay.
and it wasn't
And live at that. And she
live at
did
that.
all those characters live.
It,
Yeah, because I know you have people like Eddie Murphy who's played several people in some of his movies, but
right,
that's on film.
that's on
It's a
film.
totally different ball game doing it on stage live in front of people, playing 6 different characters like that. Which I mean, I've actually been in a play before.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, well, it wasn't just one play. It was like a combination
Okay.
of 10. It was like a combination of 10 short plays
Okay.
about different famous people from Black history,
Hmm.
and some of us, there was several of us in the play where we had to play 5 different people
Okay.
in the play because one of the plays was about Thurgood Marshall, and this was back in 2014.
Okay.
One of the plays was about Thurgood Marshall when he was in college, and Langston Hughes actually they both went to Lincoln University. But of course Langston was what maybe 7 years or so older than Thurgood.
Okay.
But so in this play, I played Langston Hughes
Mm-hmm.
in that play that was about Thurgood Marshall. And then there was another play about Alex Haley. I played Alex Haley. And I also played a freedom rider in a play that was about Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And then I played Lorraine Hansberry's brother in a play that was about Lorraine Hansberry, who wrote A Raisin in the Sun. And then the fifth character that I played was a medical student that was in a play that was about Dr. Charles Drew,
Okay.
the doctor who with the blood plasma
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So I had to play 5 people um in one production in the same night.
Yeah.
And I changed it up. I became those different people. The voices were different, everything.
Yeah.
Because when I played Langston Hughes, I went back and I listened to old recordings of him talking. So I try to get as close to his voice as possible when I play Langston Hughes. Um, and the way I carry myself as Langston, and of course with Alex Haley, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And and the other characters, of course, I had to like make them up because the Freedom Rider, I didn't know that had to be somebody I invented. And then Lorraine Hansberry's brother, of course, I had no way of knowing how he was
Right.
or what he sounded like, so I had to create that for myself
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. But yeah, that's amazing. And so some I want to do some comedy too, which some people probably don't think because I'm very serious all the time.
Yeah.
But I have a funny side to me too. I have a sense of humor.
People tell me
I
I'm
actually would
funny,
like,
so
yeah, yeah. I saw some stuff you did back before a few years ago. You had a sense of humor. You definitely got you can be funny, definitely.
I need the right coach, Carl. I just find the right coach that can,
Yeah,
prep me. I'm good.
yeah. So I would like to do. I thought about it a while back,
Mm-hmm.
doing some type of and stuff eventually. Of course, I would have to bring some other people in on it, do like another black sketch comedy show. You know
Mm.
what I mean by
Like
sketch comedy,
like
right?
Living Colors.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I like to do something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
could have
can see
fun with
that.
that. Yeah, definitely.
I can see that.
um, but this has been amazing and great conversation.
Yeah, thank you for
One of the
having me.
best.
Thank you for having me. I
Thank you.
appreciate
And
it.
you're always welcome to come back again one of these days, especially when all of this pandemic stuff is hopefully not around and we're both still here and we can actually both be in the same room.
Right.
And I'll have a studio one day for the C note and you can be right there in person with me. With the actual cameraman and all that. Definitely that too.
It's
Yeah.
coming. We're gonna
That's
speak
it.
into existence. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So tell us about your production one more time and the dates and how people can register.
Yeah, so you can check out this Friday is the premiere of Dale Orlando Smith Matilda Flood play. It opens up this Friday at the Million
Tell them
Stage.
what it's about one more time.
Oh, the play? Oh, my
What it's
bad.
about.
Oh, my bad. I
Yeah.
thought you said so the play is about the Mike Brown murder that took place in 2014. Dale Orlando Smith went down there during that time and interviewed in 2015 the different people that was able or interested about their experience about the racism in St. Louis. My particular character, Paul, who is a 17-year-old guy, lived in the same apartment complex like Michael Brown did. He didn't
Hmm.
really know Michael Brown, but he did say what's up. They knew each other like in passing. Uh, Michael Brown, of course, he passed in 2014.
Yeah.
Paul, he almost could have been like Michael Brown as well when he got encountered with the police because the police falsely thought he was a thief of selling books, art books. That's like his meal ticket out of the ghetto, out of poverty, impoverished.
Mm-hmm.
And after so that's just that particular person. But it's like five other characters that each have a different variation and a different tone within the film play than the play, and they all just and it's heavy content. It does consist of racial
Hmm.
slurs, and not just vulgar things. So
And ain't nothing I ain't heard in real life.
exactly. So
I've been called that word before by some Caucasian.
but it's a good
So,
play though. I think it's very prevalent right now to what's going on in our world, and it came at a good time. The lady
mhm.
Julie Jansen is directing it. It's her first directorial debut, also at the
Okay.
main stage. She's done other productions, but when she saw this particular play Into the Flood by Orlando Smith, Miss Orlando Smith, she had to get on it, and I think it came at the right time. So all the cast members did amazing. They come from theater backgrounds. They definitely held me together. So
Yeah.
if y'all to see,
Cool. All right. This has been a great interview, Mr. Marcus Murphy, but you
thank
can
you.
find him on social media under Marcus DeVon.
Yeah,
That's DEVON.
there you go.
And you can find the information about the play Before the Flood on his page
Yep.
here on Instagram, and he's also Marcus Devon on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
And thank you again,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Marcus Murphy. You got it going on. I'm very happy for you and
Thank
proud
you.
of you, all your
Thank you.
accomplishments, and listening to how you get into a role and everything. Being very impressed with that.
Oh,
Very
thank you.
impressed with you, and I'm looking forward to us working together again
Mm,
one of these days, definitely.
thank you.
So thank you again, Marcus.
Likewise. See you, Carl
That's
T.
it.
Thank y'all for tuning in too. Much love.
All right. Thank y'all.
Bye bye.
And people can come back and watch this later because I'm gonna keep it on here. So
Oh, perfect.
you,
See you.
yeah. All right. All right. Peace.
Bye bye. Peace.
Bye bye.